Hey guys, welcome to the Policies and Procedures portion of RA training. During this session, we will talk about what you do as an RA when you see someone in violation of one of these policies, but we will not talk about COVID policies and procedures during this session. We'll save that for an in-person session later on this week or previously before you've seen this video, depending on the time you get to see this video. So first off, let's jump right in with our policies and procedures. So alcohol, drugs, and tobacco are not allowed on campus. If you see someone in violation of this policy, that is an immediate phone call to your RD so they can address that situation. If really with alcohol and drugs, when we talk about tobacco, you can go ahead and just text your RD and let them know what you found. In those situations, do not pick up or move or touch or tamper with any of those items in a student's room, but you can sit there and wait with the student until the RD arrives. Weapons are also going to be included in that immediate phone call to your RD. So if you see a gun, a knife being used inappropriately, nunchucks, anything that can be used to harm another person, you're going to go ahead and call your RD and wait until your RD arrives before you leave that situation. Unless you're in immediate danger, please remove yourself immediately and call your RD on call so they can get security and whoever we need to assess that situation. Babysitting and businesses are not allowed on campus. So if you ever run into the situation where someone is either babysitting or running a business out of their residence hall, that will just be an IR to your RD to review as soon as possible. Candles, cooking appliances that are not allowed, and inappropriate room decor, we are going to consider that stuff contraband. And so if you go into a room and you find a candle, some inappropriate room decorations, or cooking appliances that are not allowed in that building, you are going to go ahead and fill out the contraband form, one to leave in the room and one to take with the item to leave in your RA office for your RD to know where that item belongs and where it came from and kind of why we confiscated those things. In Centennial, Fry, and Lineberry, you are only allowed to have a microwave, a small coffee pot, and a mini fridge. So if you see an item outside of that and you're an RA in one of those buildings, that is a perfect time to pull out that contraband form, fill it out, and leave it with the resident. Also, fill out another contraband form to take with you to put in the lobby with the item that you've confiscated. Go ahead and when you confiscate an item just send a quick text to your RD letting them know what you've done. Another thing that we're going to run in related to cooking appliances will be grills. So on campus, we no longer can have grills at any residence hall. If you see a grill outside, you will need to report that to your RD by email so they can get that taken care of and removed from campus. You as an RA are allowed to enter a student's room when deemed appropriate. So you've gotten a call on the RA phone saying, hey, a boy's in this room or a girl's in this room and they shouldn't be. When you hear something weird, you can go into the room and just kind of check it out. When you are doing health and wellness checks and visitation rounds. So you have the right as an RA to go into those rooms. Also, do not abuse that privilege and use discretion when doing that. You are never, as an RA, allowed to search a room. So we do not need to be opening mini fridges. We do not need to be opening drawers or closet doors. You're in there to do a health and wellness check or check on a guest to see if a student is in the room that should not be there or that other policies are being broken. Please don't go through the student stuff. If that is deemed necessary, an RD will come to the room and do a room search for you. All students on campus are required to attend all hall meetings. This might look a little different this year just with COVID, and your RD will be in charge of making sure that everyone attends. But as an RA, you're required to also attend all hall meetings that are in person. Health and wellness checks. You will perform health and wellness checks every week at the same time, and Jesse's going to talk about that in another video, so be on the lookout for all of those rules that you have to follow as an RA in regards to health and wellness checks. The noise policy and quiet hours. So our noise policy on campus is we have 24-hour consideration hours. So this means if you have a noisy resident in your lobby who is a little out of control, screaming or playing music a little too loud, you as an RA can ask them to quiet their voice or to turn off music or turn it down if it is disrupting others in the area. Quiet hours are from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day, and it's 24 hours a day during finals. So during those hours, again, if someone is being too noisy or playing music too loud, you as an RA can tell them to lower their voices or turn down the music. When a resident comes to you and complain, we always want to encourage them to have a conversation first. So you can tell a student who's complaining about a noise to courteously request that the behavior be modified, and then if it's not modified, to come back and talk to you, and you as an RA or the RD will go assist and ask the student to quiet down. Lobbies and common areas, we will have limits on those this semester of how many students will be in the lobby at a time, or can be in the lobby at a time. And we will talk about that in our COVID session about what to do if the maximum number of people are in the lobby. In regards to snacks, television, furniture, all of that good stuff, snacks are permitted in the lobby areas, but everyone is expected to clean up their own trash. If you see a student leaving a trash, you can nicely pick it up for them or just remind them, hey, you need to pick up your trash. And the same with the furniture. If you see students hanging out in the lobby and they move the couches around, you can either as an RA be generous and move that couch back or chair back to where it belongs, or ask them nicely to do it themselves. We are really going to push hard on keeping our lobbies looking nice and clean this semester and taking care of our furniture. So always remember, as an RA, you need to take pride in the building that you're in and make sure that it looks good at all times. While students are in the lobby areas, they are allowed to watch TV. They need to not watch rated R movies. So if you're putting on an event, let's make sure we are not using rated R movies, and that we are using our discretion on what's appropriate on those TVs and what is not. Personal belongings should never be left in the lobby. If you see something that looks suspicious, go ahead and call the RD on call. That way we can contact security and have that looked at. Students are also not encouraged to not display PDA in the lobbies. So if you see a student that is repeatedly just all over their boyfriend or girlfriend in the lobbies, kissing all the time, making other people feel uncomfortable, go ahead and put that in your end of duty night report. That way, if it's a consistent behavior, the RD can go ahead and address that, and never be afraid to just tell a student, hey, can you settle down and not do that in the lobby. So moving on from lobbies and common areas, let's talk about some pet and animal and ESA policies. Pets and animals are not allowed on campus. ESAs will have a session that talks about that later on. They will be clearly marked, so you'll know who is supposed to have an ESA, and we'll talk about kind of what your role is as an RA in that ESA session we'll have in training. The only pet that is allowed to be on campus is a fish in a 3-gallon tank or less. All other animals are not allowed to be on campus. If you see an animal in your building that is not approved to be here, go ahead and send a text to your RD and write an IR, and your RD will give you any further instructions if you need to do anything else regarding that ESA. Unauthorized entry or visitation. So unauthorized entry is considered entering or exiting the building through emergency exits, using the windows, opening doors for others, anything that you're not scanning your ID into a building that you have access to would be considered unauthorized entry. If you see someone entering a building that should not be entering that building, you need to write an IR and address the situation. Same with unauthorized visitation. If someone who is not assigned to that building is visiting during non-visitation hours or is an off-campus guest, they are not allowed to be on campus. So you need to address the situation and write an IR. If it's an overnight visitation or something that you feel uncomfortable with, go ahead and just call the RD on call. Vents and windows in the residence hall. Air vents in the rooms need to always remain open and windows need to always remain closed. This helps our AC system. Another thing on windows, if you notice a window without a window screen, go ahead and send a report to your RD so that they can address that maintenance issue and see why the window screen was removed. Visitation. Visitation might look a little different this year. It's going to look a little different this year. We are no longer allowing off-campus guest or overnight visitation. So, visitation is going to be during your building's visitation hours and for ETBU students only to visit other ETBU students in their rooms. During visitation, a student must sign their guest in the residence hall lobby and escort them at all times. So a guest should never be alone on the opposite gender side. They also must have an ETBU ID to check in for visitation. During visitation, a light must be on in the room. The students must be dressed at all times. I know that's kind of silly, but we have to make sure that we're in their clothes. They should not be showering while they have guests, and their behavior should line up with our Christ-centered mission of the university. So if you have a visitation violation, like the door is shut when you walk in or the light is out, you can go ahead and give that student a warning and say, hey, just turn on the light, or let's make sure we open the door. If this is a constant thing, go ahead and send a text message to your RD so they can give you further instructions on what they want you to do to address that situation. If the student is not dressed or there's a major visitation violation in effect, go ahead and immediately call the RD on call and write an IR. Any minor violations of visitation, go ahead and put that in your end of duty report. All right, guys, I think that's about it on policies and procedures. So if y'all have any questions, let's let one of your RDs know and we'll be happy to help. Thanks, guys.